Hello and welcome to episode 5 of TubbyTalks. Today we're here with myself, Joseph, my brother Christopher, and of course Margarita. That was my little bit of humour for you there.
It's a cheese pizza. Fuck's sake, you already said it all wrong.
I'm sorry, I got a
Let's start over.
Pepperoni's next week, guys. Basically, Margarita's here. We've been friends for a few years now, through work, and she's just going to talk about sport, kayaking, and other general topics. So, how about you just introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about your background in sport and life?
Sure. So I've moved to Scotland. It's going to be 9 years now in May. And I came from Estonia, which is a beautiful country. I'm sure you can agree on that now.
Absolutely,
that you've been
yeah.
there.
Yep, he's been there twice now, so.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, so you did.
Yeah, we'll get on to that.
But yeah, in terms of sort of my sports background, I've always been that kind of kid who liked to try everything out. So if you name a sport, like don't go to extremes, okay? But if you name a sport, I've probably tried it at least for a few days or months or years and so on.
You've dipped in it and then at least you
absolutely. Like, I mean, I might not look like it, but I started with ballet when I was a kid.
Wow, okay, wow.
Done athletics, done fencing, basketball, volleyball, football. I was terrible at it, but
Yep, same here.
tennis, swimming, like honestly, everything that was out there, my friend was doing. I was like, oh, I want to try it too. And then eventually, I got to a sport that I stuck at for a good few years. That I've done professionally as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I moved here 9 years ago. Wasn't doing any professional sports as such. But
Okay.
yeah, my time in Estonia in terms of sport, I didn't even watch certain movies or TV shows that kids do because I would always go and do something when I was after school time.
Like active stuff, keep yourself with the sports, or did you go to any clubs or anything like that?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
again, even when I was like young, I mean, I'm a bit older than you guys, but like I
Slightly.
didn't have a cell phone. I did not have a cell phone. The
Wow.
way I knew that I need to go home is my mom would scream across like the whole area, Margarita, dinner time. And I'm like, okay, mom. And I'll shout back as well.
Shouting Margarita dinner time is quite funny.
Yeah, I've had that a couple
I'll say we've heard that as well a few times. We didn't really have phones when we were younger in primary school. Like you might have had like a tiny phone that had Snake on it and that, but even then, we still didn't really have one until we were in high school. I don't think so anyway.
Well, it was kind of the introduction of smartphones when I first joined high school.
How old were you when you had your first phone?
Well, I think I was in P7.
Years.
So that would have been 2009,
No,
maybe.
how old were you?
10, he would have been 10 or 11 years old.
Right, okay.
And that would have been like not a smartphone, just not
Nokia
not
3310.
Well, I've got a flip phone now,
yeah.
but it's a smart flip phone. So
But yeah, well, you said obviously you did a sport professionally. What was that? What sport was that? Because you mentioned a lot of them. So what was the one that you kind of took up there?
Well, it was kayaking, which is a little bit similar to rowing. I mean, it's a water sports. The difference, though, is that with rowing, you kind of go backwards and you use two paddles, whereas with kayaking, there's variations of it. One, when you go on rough rivers and you get flipped over and all sorts.
It's like
the
white
one-
water or something like that.
Yeah. The one I've been doing was on flat water. So it's basically your distances. The most popular ones are 200 meters, 500 meters, and 1,000 meters. And like obviously the fastest you go, the better.
So what did you kind of specialise in? Were you a sprinter on the kayaks, long distance?
I mean,
Were you the Mo Farah or the Usain Bolt of kayaking?
well, my sort of history with kayaking is quite I say interesting one, but
Well, yeah, that's why we're here. Just tell us a bit.
Originally, so first of all, I started when I was 13 years old. So, well, just coming to 13 years old. Usually people go into this kind of sports to do professional a bit younger than me because I've already skipped 2 age classes when I started. So I could have
Wow.
obviously had some history in the previous age classes, but I just went sort of in the middle straight away. But the reason why I went there is because I knew someone who was going there, and I just had an idea that I can push that person into water. Like they were not bullying me as such at school, but really annoying me at school. And I'm like, oh my god, he's going there. I'm gonna have my revenge. So that's the reason why I
Duncan.
went there.
That's
um,
really interesting, actually.
Is kayaking then? Did you do it individually in the boat, or did you ever do double kayaking? Is that even a thing, really? Like,
So I've literally done everything. So from when I started, you go into this boat because it's very narrow. It's not like flat. You really need to have a good sort of balance not to flip into the water. But
Yeah.
so what we had is two boys on the each side of the kayak,
Young boys are like big.
what age?
all age appropriate. But you basically there's a device that helps you to float on the water.
Yeah, yeah.
And first day I was like,
Like
that's
stabilizers.
yeah. But like first day I was like, that's stopping me. I don't like it. But the coach was like, oh, you've literally just sat in a boat, so use that until we're at least like not worried about you going without it. I
Yeah.
went rogue. I said to the girl, listen, take this off. I want to try out how I'm actually doing. And I actually did pretty well. So in 3 weeks since I started, I got my first bronze medal.
Wow.
And that was at the start of the season. So our season starts in May, July because of the weather.
Right, yeah, yeah.
And then by the end of the season, I got my first gold medal. And for
Wow.
the next 5 years, in my age class, whether it's a single, double, or even 4 people boat, it was always the first place. So, well, the 4 people boat and 2 people, there was a period where we were kind of getting to the point where we were champions all the time. But
Right.
my personal record was the same
Number
for
one.
5 years. And
It's
actually,
really impressive. Wow.
Yeah.
and actually, when I finished, that was like a pivotal moment when I was like, do I pursue a sports career or do I go into uni? And I chose the
Dreaded
second part. Yeah,
university.
and there was a reason for it. But that year, on the last championship, I actually won the first prize for like all age groups. So there was people who were still older than me, and they were in different age groups. And I just got first there, and I was very pleased with myself. And I thought that's a good way to kind of end it on a high.
Yeah,
Um,
it's sad, but yeah, it's a good way of like bowing out before you start going downhill or before it becomes too tough or whatever. It's kind of like a wrestler who like stays until they're 78 and they can't do anything anymore, or instead of someone who's like the champion just retires at that point. But I'm sure if you did stick at it, you probably would have got more success. But as you say, it's kind of difficult deciding to go to university or. But you said there was a reason for it.
Yeah, what was the reason for choosing university instead of sports? Which a lot of people probably do choose when they're in
Yeah.
that position.
We all have our own reasons, but you know.
You say that like, yeah, we had our reasons as well for not being professional sports.
well, it was a little bit sad in a sense because I did like the community. Because every time we had a championship, so many parents would come over, friends, family, they were all cheering us, would have barbecues after. It was such a family feel to the whole thing. And our coaches were amazing. Like they were married themselves, so they were just taking care of us as we were their kids. And I could really see myself being a professional rower / kayaker, whatever you call it, and kind of doing that. But what I faced is, and I don't know whether it's the same, I can't tell for all sports in Estonia, but I personally felt that there was a lot of discrimination because although I'm from Estonia, I'm technically from a Russian family. And there were times when we would be trying to qualify for a European Championship. And our times, although you can't get a specific sort of like world record time because it depends on the density of the water, the wind, where it's towards you or on your back, all of these factors. But there's still like a certain time for each of the distances to be like, oh, that's a very good time.
Yeah.
So me and another girl were kind of almost qualifying for a European Championship, and we were so pleased with our times and how we were doing, we were actually already like giggling, like, oh, we'd go to Belgium and do this and that. And then all of a sudden, some Estonian boys are taken instead. And we're like, well, that doesn't make sense because they weren't even that good. Because compared to our time, we were faster than them, and they should be faster than us. So it was kind of like a very upsetting moment. And then I think it was my second year, because I was about 16 to go into my 17th year. It was when I knew for a fact that I'm really good at it. I want to do something about it. Because on my first year, like 4 months after I started, I got third place in a Baltic State Championship. And then
Wow.
the same one with a broken arm. I actually took my cast off before going on the water.
Wasn't impressed enough that you got third. It was like I got third with a broken arm.
No, I got first with a broken arm.
First with a broken arm.
Okay.
Because
There you
I
go.
broke my arm, right? And
That's
then instead of just stopping doing anything, I just put sellotape over it so it doesn't soak in the water and just continue. Because it was good enough to take the row in my hand.
Yeah.
So I just continued doing it.
So
And then
you still used two, or like you still used two hands?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you didn't just use one hand like that and still win.
no, I was lucky enough that the cast was in this kind of shape that
Yeah.
I could just put the row into it and just continue doing it. But I had to obviously protect it. So I've got my gold just under a year doing it. And you had like countries like Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, there were Polish people there as well. It's just kind of like our neighboring countries. So at that point, I was like, okay, I want to do something about it. And every time I tried to be like, okay, can I go to this championship? But there was just never any budget for me, but there was
Yeah.
budgets for everyone else.
Yeah, you didn't have the same opportunity provided for you.
And then any Estonian championship, there were always camera people from like your local channels and things. Even when our guys got the first place, they would interview other people because they were speaking the Estonian and
Yeah.
I don't know, like it really felt there's so many like coincidences that at one point I was like, I'm not gonna get anywhere. So I decided to quit at that time. But that's how I got to the World Championship.
Right. Okay.
My coach
Moving on.
my coach really didn't want me to stop rowing because I was doing really well for the club and everything like that. So he ended up negotiating a deal to take me to a World Championship. Little did I know when I was 16, the entry years were 21 plus. So I was like, okay, so even if I'm really good, it's gonna be a challenge to like get anywhere close to first or second or even third place.
But then, so your coach actually was really encouraging, and I think it was a guy. Yeah, you said.
Well, it was a couple, so
Couple, yeah,
a
like
wife
a
and a
wife and husband.
yeah.
So they were really encouraging. You said like motherly, fatherly figures to everyone. So that's really good. At least you had a supportive coach to back you up, even when other opportunities might not have been there. But
And I think that was like a nice boost to go somewhere like a world championship, to see other people from around the world, just experience that different level of stress and anxiety, but also excitement.
yeah.
And after that, I did still stay for a couple of years until I was 18. I finished school. And at that point, I was just like, okay, do I pursue this or do I just go and study? I mean, the study didn't go exactly how I planned, but that's a different story. But nonetheless, that was the reason why I never really pursued that. But I'll be forever grateful for all the experience I had, specifically in that world of kayaking. And I feel like there's a lot of things about me as a person that stems from the discipline and everything that was happening around that time I was doing this sport.
Okay, so it's a really vital part of your history, and as who you are as a person, pretty much that really built some foundations for you.
Yeah, because it was one of those times when, for example, when I was winning pretty much
Everything.
all the time, I needed some kind of competition. So I would train with the boys instead of the girls, or girls who were older than me, so more experienced and better at that. But then eventually it just end up being with boys all the time, just because they're like stronger and usually they are a lot quicker than.
Well, I guess it's down to that kind of, I suppose, genetics where you've got male sprinters that are just naturally quicker than the female sprinters.
Yeah.
And it just gets to that. I mean, it doesn't mean they're any more of an athlete. It just means that's just how they're built. So I think it was female runners after 200 miles are quicker than guys because they can survive longer than guys. But anything sort of like quick, obviously guys are obviously at top level. We're talking here, not me and you. You could probably beat me in a race, but I don't know about that. But, so yeah, so that's just basically what you're talking about. It's like at that age as well, like I just want to train with the guys because they're at that level. That's really impressive though that you, as obviously a woman, were competing with the guys at the same sort of time.
I mean, they were all better than me, regardless. But at least
But it helps you have that like competitive.
I remember
Aspect.
times when we had so many cheerleaders. Again, family, friends would come over, and usually when you get to the finish line, you'll hear your name being cheered, and then eventually it's like Margarita. Okay, let's cheer someone else because like there's literally no one around her. So what's the point? And every time I try to ask someone, oh, could you do a picture like a finish line picture? It was just me, and you're like, well, you might as well do it when you're training because
It just looks like you're just out yourself for a wee stroll in the water. Well, yeah, the statistic you were saying was the male runners. I don't know how it works with rowing. It's probably the same though. The more distance you add, the less the gap is between male running and female running times. Once you get 198 miles, the women take over. But it also applies to other things as well, like training wise. The more a guy trains, obviously, the further gap he gets with women. But if it's just like naturally, at like sort of younger ages, 14 odds, there's actually not really much difference between men and women yet. It depends on the guy or the woman, obviously, but so it is interesting that you were a bit older and you were still training with the guys, even because usually when you get to about 14, 13, that's when girls can't really train with the boys. Well, they can obviously, but people, if you've got sports like football and that, they don't even let them. But it is still interesting that you were training with guys, like you were saying, and I just wanted to clear up that statistic as well, because I think you kind of brushed by it, and I was like, people might be like, what the hell is he talking about? 200-mile races.
I got that from QI.
QI,
Sandy
yeah.
from QI. So
no, but I just needed to like have some kind of goal to go towards. So, because even when I got my first gold in the Baltic State Championship, it was
really cool.
it was a 5 kilometer distance, and it was on the river. So at first you go like sort of against the tide, and then obviously backwards as well. So and it was so many people starting at the same time that you didn't really know, because there are people from other countries, you don't know if they're competing against you or a lower age class or a higher age class.
So you're
But
just all out at once, like.
there was still like groups of people, not
Right.
everyone at once, but like I think it was girls would go first and then boys would go next, and then people on canoe will go third, because there was like three
Right.
options.
Canoe's another one, isn't it? It's another.
Yeah, but I don't know how it is now, but when I was doing, there was not a single girl doing canoes. There was only boys. But we had like three classes in that sense.
Did you ever do canoeing ever?
I tried.
You tried it?
I would just go in circles.
Yeah.
It's so hard. They make it look so easy.
But what is like the main difference between kayak and canoeing? Apart from like the boat shape or whatever, but like if you're at the actual movement, is there a difference as well?
Yeah, so, well, the way you sit in a boat is different, because when you're in a kayak, you kind of sit with your legs kind of bent a little bit, and you have the row in both of your hands. A canoe, you're almost kneeling like on one knee, and then you have just one row that you kind of row on one side.
Right.
And it's about the technique of how you put it in the water and then you twist it so that your boat actually goes straight. Because if you just roll on one side, you'll just go in circles. That's what I
Yeah.
was doing.
Yeah. Well.
So, but
Okay.
it was just not something popular amongst girls. It's probably just easy as that. But yeah, we were starting with like loads of people, so you don't know who you're competing against. But my coach said that get a target, reach that person and then focus on another target and just go. Because if you're just like sitting there in your boat and rowing like just to get the distance, you never know. Maybe there will be that split second that will be the pivotal second that would, suggest whether you're going to win it or not. So I was kind of doing that. And then I remember like last 300 meters or something like that. Like I could already see the finish line. And there's this girl in front of me. And I'm like, I wonder if she's in my age class. But she's so far away that for the distance that we have left, there's just no way I'm going to get to her.
Yeah.
But then I remember what my coach said is if you get to the finish line and you still feel like you have strength, you've not done enough. Like he was a very old school Russian, like hard coach. He would drive in his car behind you while you run a 15-kilometer run, just to make sure you're not like walking, you're running. Like he was really hardcore.
Wow.
But I remembered what he said, and I was like, I kind of feel that I have what it takes to maybe give another push.
Yeah.
And it was a photo finish. Like there was literally split seconds, and this girl was in my age group, and I won the first prize. I was like, oh my God. Because when they were saying like third prize to this person, I was like, oh, am I second prize? I was like, surely I got something. And then they say my name, I was like, oh my God, that was that girl. So
that is really, really cool, isn't it? Like the fact you just made yourself push at the last second. That's proper athlete mentality there.
And that's what I loved about like just doing sports in general. It really builds your character. You don't like. You take these lessons that you learn there and you apply it to your life. Like you don't give up when something gets tough. You always look for opportunities to improve yourself. So I could have said, like comfortably say, oh, I'm better than all the rest of the girls in my age group and I'll just stay with that. But I wanted to push myself to my limits, see how far I can go, how fast I can go. And if it meant training with boys who were like miles away from me anyway, it still means that I'm not just sitting there and kind of plateauing. So
yeah, definitely.
I'm very grateful for that time that I was doing sports. And obviously here, I've been I'm mostly just going to the gym.
Yeah, so you obviously stopped once you came to Scotland. You haven't really been doing... Well, I don't really know, like... I'm assuming there will be kayaking clubs in Scotland.
There definitely is, because I know kayaking clubs in Scotland.
Yeah, but...
You ever been the Clyde River Canoe Club?
I saw that,
where they go in the river.
But when I actually thought about it last year, when I started going to the strongman gym with you guys, I think, Joe, you were the one who actually asked if there's any kayaking clubs, and I had a look. And there were actually, but again, it was gonna get into the end of the season, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna go kayaking in like October, maybe. I think it was mostly just me, like telling myself, oh, probably not a good time, but definitely there is one. So I'm planning to try it out at least this year to see how it goes.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's good.
I mean, I even remember when I started going to the strongman gym and you said, oh, try to lift certain weights. And I was managing it. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I was so into sports all my childhood and teenage life that maybe there's some kind of muscle memory. I don't know how that works, but...
no, it definitely does work. Like the muscles you were working in rowing would have helped you with everything you were doing in strongman pretty much. You know, you would have carried over a lot of strength. And it will probably be useful if you do join the Clyde River one, because you'll need to be throwing trolleys out of your direction as well, and other things that have been dumped in the river, ATM machines and things like that, and bags. So
that's not the worst that can be found in the Clyde, to be honest.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. What is it? You hearing something?
I don't know. Are you?
I think so.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, I can hear that, yeah.
Hold on. Take that a second, I think.
This would be a good time for a pizza break.
It would actually be a brilliant time. I mean, could you not hear that?
No.
You never heard it, no?
No.
What is it your mum used to say? It's Margarita. It's dinner Margarita, is that what your mum said?
Oh my god. Okay.
It's up to you.
I mean, yeah, sure, why not?
I'm sure our guests, watchers, will be
Well, for anyone who is watching on YouTube, if you noticed me leave earlier for a second, it's because I didn't want the house to burn down, and so I took this out of the oven.
A good margarita pizza.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Morrison's
The best Morrison's finest. I think that's a Tesco quote, is it not?
Yeah.
Tesco's finest. Morrison's high value, or who knows? Other supermarkets are available.
Told you it's a good time for a pizza break.
Yes, literally, she did say it's a brilliant time for a
Really?
pizza break. Yeah, it's so funny, like, because I knew what was happening. Oh my goodness. I'll have one over. There you go.
Okay, well, you're going to need to use. There's no pizza cutters available, sadly. So
no, that's a disaster.
knives only. Yep. Margarita.
To be fair as well, like you mentioned that a lot of things that my body was going through as I was kayaking. Bear in mind, we could only do it in certain months of the year because we actually have 4 seasons, unlike in Scotland.
We have 4 seasons every day.
Yes, but then our winter can be like -20, all
Yeah,
the
well-
rivers and all the lakes. I was like,
Locks.
What's the normal?
What's the normal?
Like-
All the locks in Estonia. To be fair, when I was in Estonia for that sumo wrestling comp, it was -17 degrees or something like that in the place we were in. So, and it was
That's normal.
February. February's not even that cold over here in February. It's kind of winter still, but so it was really cold, and the roads were all icy, and the paths were all icy and everything. So it is definitely a lot more. It's a different ball game.
Yeah, so during winter time, we would normally go into the gym to work out there. And again, since I started doing kayaking, it was 6 days a week.
Wow.
So I'll go to school. After school, I'll go to the other part of the city to do my training. Then go into another part of the city, go home.
This was
eat,
Tallinn, right?
Yeah.
In Tallinn.
But like honestly, my school was in one place, my training was in another place, and I lived in a completely different place. So it was about hour to get to school, half an hour to go to my training, and another hour to get home. So my days from Monday to Friday, I did not have time to watch TV shows or get drunk like most of my fellow classmates were doing, when they were 13, 14, smoking and all doing all that stuff. I was like the non-cool kid at the time.
You're the smart kid.
I wouldn't go that far, but I was a busy kid. But I loved what I was doing. And then during summertime, it was twice a day, every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Wednesday and Saturday, just one training. So I was quite involved in that. And during winter time, we would just go to the gym, so where we would be lifting heavy weights, practicing our endurance, and just getting ready for the season. And then the moment our coach knows that there's a river that's no longer covered in ice and we can go there, it might still be like -5. But he's like, you can go roll that.
Yeah.
So we would just put bags on our feet so that it doesn't soak up all the cold water. So like honestly, the way we would look, it was hilarious. But it was like, we need to take this opportunity to train on water, because the Baltic State Championship usually was in April or start of May, whereas you said in February it's still -17.
Yeah.
So we want to be in some way of an advantage of like other people.
Would you say you're disadvantaged as an Estonian then because you can't train as often as other countries? I'm not sure what Latvia and Lithuania are like. Obviously, they're very close, so they're probably similar. But then, if you're doing a bigger competition that's more than just the Baltics, would you say you're at a disadvantage basically because you can't train as often as somebody from like a hot country?
Well, think about it that way. Someone in Portugal could probably row all year long, whereas we can only do it from April to November maybe. Because even like in December, it might be snowing, but if the lake's still not frozen, our coach will be like, go. And then we'll just go to the sauna after, or frozen to death.
You're the cool runnings of rowers, the Jamaican bobsleigh team, where they couldn't train because there's no ice in Jamaica, and so they had to bobsleigh down normal hills and things like that. So, if you've seen Cool Runnings, if anyone has, have you seen Cool Runnings?
No, I
You don't know what we're
think
talking about then.
so. No.
We'll show you afterwards.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
watch it. We'll watch the 2-hour movie after with Uncle Buck.
But I don't think there's any kind of big wins. There was a girl in a different city who was performing really well. So after she was really good when I was still in the sports, and she just skyrocketed in kayaking. She was in a lot of European championships. I don't want to lie. I think she was in a world championship too, but she was like scoring really well. But I don't know if we actually done exceptionally good in that area as a country. But within rowing, we did have 4 Olympic medals.
Wow,
Um,
that's a lot. It's impressive.
but it was in rowing, so it was like similar, but not
Yes.
quite.
Is a rowing boat a specific boat then, or is it a canoe? Because when I think of rowing, I just assume it's kind of like a canoe almost. But is it like a specific rowing boat that's different from kayaks and canoes?
Well, it's still a boat in a sense, right? But it's the way it's shaped. So a rowing boat is a little bit similar to a kayaking boat that I was using. They are very like small. They have a very sharp bottom. So, but I guess with rowing you have two paddles on each side, so it kind of helps a little bit with the whole balancing
Yeah, yeah.
moment. Um, but they are quite small in a sense, whereas a canoe it's a little bit bigger. But then again, if you're doing sports canoeing, it will still be different to your canoe that you, I don't know, you'll go to Thailand, you're like, oh, I just want to do it for fun. It'll be a lot different. It will be more focused on the balance, so you don't flip into the water. Whereas when it's sports, you focus on the stuff like that makes you go faster. So
Yes.
I remember every time we had a championship, we would use wax on our balls to make sure it slides really well. I don't know
Wow.
if it actually worked, but we're still doing it.
That's interesting. That's like a sort of a cheat almost. Like,
Is that it's allowed? Yeah.
It wasn't a cheat. No, no, it wasn't a cheat.
You're not just admitting cheating.
No,
it's like one
no,
of
no,
those
no.
things like you wouldn't think, like, obviously, if I was to, I don't know the sport, so I wouldn't ever imagine, oh, you put wax on it to make it slide
Yeah.
faster. Like,
Especially because water, like you wouldn't think, oh, you need to slide more in the water. Because most people probably think water's water, you know, like it's weird that you
does
can
make
put
sense.
wax.
Like,
It makes
obviously,
sense, obviously, yeah, you just wouldn't think of it.
yeah, like wax on, wax off, like
But the
water
thing is,
resistance.
you can have scratches on your boat, not from water, obviously, but from like traveling and all sorts. And the slightest scratch can, mess up the whole aerodynamic of it.
Yeah. Uh
So,
huh.
and everyone's been doing, and then you obviously have different kinds of boats. You get your like cheap plastic ones, you get wooden ones, you get really expensive plastic ones. I remember when I was doing kayaking, some of the boats were more or less the same price as like the standard car, and you're thinking, should I get a car? Should I get a boat?
Wow. Yeah, that's
Luckily, I didn't have to pay for any of that. The club was getting all the gear, but still, yeah, there's a reason why there's variations of those boats, and then you just try to take care of it as much as you can, so it's in good shape.
yeah. I suppose the same for like a racing car or a go kart or something. You would always make sure it's waxed and cleaned and taken care of, and
Just any equipment in any sport, yeah, you would obviously make sure it's maintained so you can use it in the future properly. You wouldn't want to disadvantage yourself by having the scratches, like you said, just because you didn't look after it properly.
I mean, with the winds and the waves and everything, I think scratches was the least of people's concerns. Because I remember going through certain distances and literally jumping up and down, thinking, I just don't want to fall into the lake, because that's obviously disqualifying yourself.
yeah.
So you can't get back in the boat if you fall out then?
No.
What if
Right.
if somebody, it probably doesn't happen very often, but I'm sure it has happened, if somebody like hit another boat, is there a penalty for that? I don't mean they like, get their row oar and smash the guy in it. I just mean like if they like bump into them, or if it, like an accident happens, basically, is there like a penalty, or is it just a kind of get on with it, or are they both out?
Well, when you do distances like 200 meters, 500 meters, a kilometer, you have your own road to go on. So
It's
I
like
don't
drag
know.
racing. You don't change lanes all of a
Yeah,
sudden. Yeah.
like I don't know why would you like going on the lake. You're not supposed to. No one does that. It takes away from your time as well. I don't
Yeah.
think anyone. But you would have other competitions when it's like a marathon. So every year we had to participate in a marathon, and it was 38 kilometers. So it was about
Wow.
just over 3 hours of just rowing nonstop.
That sounds unbelievable. So you had to go through that?
Yeah, because it's
Wow.
part of the training. I'm telling you, our coach was crazy, but like really good.
So was that like a competition marathon, or just you just did it for like training purposes?
It was a competition. You
Ah,
do
right, okay.
get like I think the first three people would get like certain prizes and stuff. It wasn't a part of the like Estonian league. So like you
Yeah.
have 10 championships that at the end there's a cup final, and you know you obviously get whatever you get on that cup final. But
Yeah.
then across all of the 10 competitions, if you're like second, first, all that, so it gets calculated and it's like the yearly result.
Okay.
I mean, my calculation was easy, but
Yeah. 1 1 1 1 1.
but that was just like another thing to do, and we all had to do it because it was just after our sports camp as well, and we were kind of in that area. So our coach was like, "Oh, we just have to do it." And I'm like, "Oh, sure, great."
So are you saying a collision is possible in a marathon then?
Oh, absolutely.
And there's no penalty for it. It's just part of it basically.
What was more common than a collision is people hijacking your wave.
What, pirates?
Well, kind of. So when you go on a boat, you obviously get waves coming
Yeah.
from it. But if you hit that sweet spot just in the kind of middle, it helps to go as well. So for
Yeah.
example, there were just like small boats with people like not fishing, but like enjoying the sunshine and whatever. I remember there was a few times people were having a laugh and they're like, "Oh, just come on, come on." So imagine a speedboat. They were not going too fast, but fast enough for me to just kind of hijack their wave. And I was just literally doing the easiest rows, and I was going so fast. I'm like, "This is life." It wasn't for too long, and I still didn't win that because there weren't any age groups. It was just all girls or boys, whatever. Just go and have fun. And if you are first, great. It's sort of like the London Marathon. You don't have age groups there. You just run.
Just do it.
Aye.
And was it like a team marathon? Were you in a boat with one or two people, or was it just you on your own?
Sadly, it was just me.
Just you.
I'm trying to remember. Was it a year when I was with my mate? I think there was one year, but I can't remember. It was so traumatic. I think my mayor was just like, let's forget about it. Because every year I was like, I'm never doing this again. Never.
Yeah.
Because I mean, everything hurts after that. Everything. Because you're sitting on a plastic seat for 3.5 hours. That's not fun.
That sounds horrible. Like
Never mind the rowing, just doing that. Just sitting in a seat for 3 hours plastic seat would be bad.
Honestly, yeah, I couldn't even sit down still for 3.5 hours. Like, yeah, that sounds really tough. Properly tough. Like you have to be really, really strong to be able to do that.
Yeah, but honestly, again, those years, I always remember them with such a big smile on my face. I loved everything about it. It took me away from a lot of stupid stuff that kids were doing of my age.
Yeah.
And
That's a good thing about sport as well. You can like join a sports club, martial arts club, football, whatever, and you get yourself out of the streets essentially. Like
absolutely.
you get yourself doing something actually worthwhile. So yeah.
Because usually kids get involved in dodgy things when they just have too much time on their hands. And I don't want to blame parents as such, but as a parent, you are in charge of your kids until they are a specific age. So it's always, I think, good to put children into certain classes or sports groups, because it just keeps them busy and avoids all the dodgy stuff. I mean, probably people who want to find something bad, they'll still find it. Find ways to do something. I mean, I was not a perfect kid by all means. Like, I've had, I mean, not for this podcast, but there's been things I won't be too proud of. But I was a kid, so whatever.
I mean, Estonian childhood sounds not that dissimilar to Scottish childhood for a lot of people, to be fair, with how the things you've said. So,
well, yeah.
Obviously, there are massive differences, but there's a lot of things that are probably very similar as well. Probably with a lot of countries in the world will have similar things, but.
Well, speaking of similar things, do you have a sports called wife carrying?
No. Really?
First, I've heard of it, but I think I've probably heard of it because it's other countries. I don't think there's a lot of it happening here. No.
I've never heard
Remember, Scotland's also one of the most obese places in the world, so it'd be quite difficult to carry anybody as a sport for the average person.
Well, it's quite a popular sport, and so it's originated in Finland, which is, as you know,
Obviously.
Another country we've been, yeah.
a neighboring country. But it's kind of part. Estonia likes to be included in the Nordic countries, right? So part of that, it's a very popular sport. But there is one sport that was originated in Estonia, and
Okay.
I hope I'm saying it correctly, but it's kayaking. So it's Kiiking,
Okay.
right? So the principles of that is it's almost like a swing, but instead of just a normal swing, you have metal shafts,
Right.
right?
And no one's going anywhere.
Well, you might, because
Nah.
the way you win is, the longer your shaft is.
Yes.
Obviously.
I've won many of those competitions before.
But no, so you obviously get securely kind of attached to the swing, and the whole thing is you need to do a whole 360. And
Okay.
apparently, it's quite hard to do because you obviously need to squat. It's not just your normal swinging kind of technique. You're kind of squatting and you're trying to do the whole 360.
I
And
actually have seen this, to be fair. I've seen people do this.
Have you?
Now that you mentioned that, I have actually seen it. And when you said keeking, I even thought I have heard of that, I swear. So, but, continue. I just definitely have heard of it, yeah, it's weird.
It's funny that it's this Estonian originated sport.
It's
Yeah.
mainstream, clearly.
well,
Anyway, yes.
we had, like, back in the old days, you had like just a big swing with metal shafts, and just there's loads of people that can go on it and just like have fun. There's still a few restaurants and places in Tallinn that you go and they have this as an addition to sort of their backyard. So you can have food and then go and have a wee swing as well.
You never told me about any of this stuff before my holiday.
Well, it's
They were like,
a bit-
"Oh, try out some keeking while you're there."
well, the Viking villages you went to, I'm pretty sure they have it there.
Did they?
Well, to be fair, they sent us away with an axes and bows and arrows on their own and went, there's a forest over there, go and have fun. So they might have been a swing there and they just didn't mention it. They thought, oh, they'll figure it, they'll find it eventually and they'll know what to do.
Fair enough.
The fish there was the best fish I've ever had my entire life. Absolutely delicious. And the only bad thing is we had a massive fish whilst there, and then they were asking me, "So what's the next activity, Joe?" And I was like, "Dinner." So we kind of effed that up a wee bit.
I mean, we had to house down. It was like 3 kilos of fish in 20 minutes, and then go 10 minutes down the road to a restaurant for dinner. So it was a
Estonians
good
love
job. It
their
was a
fish.
strongman holiday. And sumo wrestlers and not a normal holiday, because that was a bit ridiculous. Also, you're supposed to catch the fish on your own, they would cook it, which we definitely did, 100%.
Yeah, they caught so much fish; it was unbelievable. First
To
try.
be fair, it's so easy because they farm the fish there, and the moment you swing the hook, it just straight away catches a fish. So
Yep, that definitely happened.
Yeah,
It's not-
that sounds exactly how it went.
Yeah.
Just
Aye,
literally
sure.
just that was it.
We caught about 500 fish each.
Yeah, we fed the whole crowd of people
whole
there.
village?
Yeah.
I was like, "There's one for you."
We went home we went back to Finland as well. And we're like, here's some Estonian fish for everybody. We brought it back for ourselves.
We started our own business.
But I was so surprised when you guys said that you went there for a sumo wrestling championship, and I'm like,
Oh
what?
yeah.
But then I looked.
He
Sorry.
went there. I was supposed to go. I couldn't go for health reasons, but he did go, and he did very well.
Well, have you heard of Baruto?
The ex-politician, yes.
Well, obviously you know him as a politician, but also he is an extremely famous sumo wrestler who was a professional in Japan. He reached Ozeki level, I'm sure, which is, apart from Yokozuna, the highest level you can get to. He was really a good sumo wrestler. And it's him that runs it. Him and his brother Milas, they run this competition. It's a European Cup in
because I think he
sumo.
stopped in 2009 because of an injury or something.
Yeah, well, he did do it for a while, but it was about that time he stopped. But people obviously know him because then he became a politician and he owns loads of businesses and things. And the Scott, who's part of this Clan Sumo Scotland, he knows Baruto a little bit in Milas because we were invited directly via Milas, who's Baruto's brother. And even when we were on the way home there was some Estonians in the airport talking to us, and they were like, "Oh, what are you here for?" And we said sumo wrestling. They were like, "Oh, Baruto," like they just mentioned them. So that's why it's in Estonia, because of that guy basically. And Europe in general has a pretty big sumo scene, and there's a few cups here and there, and things. But I'd say Estonia is probably one of the more known places for it because of Baruto. So that's kind of why it's there.
Oh, I was really surprised when I looked into it as well. The most Olympic medals that Estonia gained, one of the sports was wrestling. So not exactly sumo, but it's kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, a form of wrestling. Yeah.
which was again quite surprising because when I was growing up, I was never really exposed to that as such. I mean, I had a few. I tried taekwondo and other sports. Like I honestly tried
Awesome.
everything. Never tried judo or wrestling, but
No.
these are quite popular as well. Surprisingly, like considering everything, basketball is oftentimes called as the national sport of Estonia. I mean, and I've done basketball too, FYI.
Yeah, same.
Same.
But
That's what we did before the whole strongman
But
thing
I was
was
like-
basketball.
because we have a very famous cross country skiing. So the cross country skiing World Cup is actually held in Estonia as well, not in Tallinn, but in our winter capital. So we have cultural capital, which is Tallinn, a summer capital, which is Pärnu, and the winter capital, which is Tartu, and that's where the championships are usually held. So in the Olympic medalist, I think her name's Christina Schmigun, she actually had multiple years. I think it was at least 3 Olympic medals that she's got. So I thought that maybe that would be the sort of national sports, but no, it's basketball of all the things.
Well, basketball
That's
is
really
really
cool.
big in Eastern Europe, to be fair. A lot of Eastern European countries have got NBA players from that country, so there is a lot of famous people from Eastern Europe who play basketball. So the whole of Eastern Europe in general does have a big basketball scene, but it is interesting that if somebody said to most people, "Oh, what do you think Estonia's national sport is?" they're not going to go, "Oh, obviously it's basketball." They'd probably think it was. I would actually, before I knew anything about it, I would probably assumed it was some sort of wrestling. Just from
Oh, wow.
kind of, it just seems like it would be, and there is a couple wrestlers from Estonia I've heard of and things like that. So not sumo wrestling, just like wrestling in general, something like that, or like a Highland Gamesy thing almost, like kayaking maybe. I don't know.
Well, wife carrying is.
Wife carrying, there you go. Yeah.
If you were to tell me, oh, where do you think it's originated? I'd actually probably say Scotland, because the Highland Games, they were mental as well.
They are quite crazy.
I think something tells me that England have a wife carrying thing.
I don't know about that.
Well, the World Championships usually held in Finland, so I don't know.
Right.
But
Definitely a Finnish style thing.
It definitely seems more like a Scandinavian thing, yeah. But then a
are you
lot of
calling us
people.
weirdos?
No, well, a lot of people, you were saying Estonia likes to be Nordic, and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people in Scotland like to, not to the same extent, but they like to kind of feel like they're a bit Nordic as well. Shetland and Orkney used to be part of Norway, obviously, and there's some people further up north that they're thinking like they're like, oh yeah, we're kind of like that as well, which I don't really know. That's up to your opinion, obviously, but there is similar things like that. I mean,
I would say we're more similar to the sort of that sort of area, Estonia, Norway, and that,
Well,
to a lot of southern European places.
yeah, we're way more similar to that than like Spain
Yeah.
or whatever, in some things. But then Estonia even has, a Scotland club, obviously, and it has there's Scottish bars and that there, which I've never really heard of Scottish bars anywhere apart from Estonia and Scotland.
Yeah,
Even
that
Scotland
was-
doesn't have Scottish bars, obviously, but like all bars are Scottish bars, I guess.
Oh, what's his name? Sean Connery?
Sean Connery, yeah.
He opened the Scottish Club in Tallinn.
Oh, did he actually open it?
Yeah, it's still
Oh,
there.
so that's why there's a statue of him. I thought it was just because he was Scottish.
That's when
Who's a Scottish guy we like? Oh, Sean Connery. He'll be the mascot.
Finally the answer. that we've all
Finally.
been waiting for.
Oh, he opened the club, yeah, and there's at least one Scottish bar in Old Town of Tallinn.
Yeah.
Well, we went there. Yeah, it's called the Highlander Bar, I
They
think.
don't have Buckfast though, which is
They don't even have tenants or anything. It was barely a
know.
Scottish bar.
I mean, it was Scottish by name, and he
I
did
mean-
have.
they have a flag.
Yeah, they have the saltire, and Estonia has its own tartan, and that's there as well, like on the wall. And they've got like Scottish great swords and things like that there, and hunters of Irish whiskey.
They had lots
They
of
had
Irish
lots of Irish whiskey.
I
There
don't
was
know why.
Scottish whiskey there as well.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, there was Scotch whiskey as well. I think there was like Thistly Cross, which was like a cider or something, but no Tennant's or Bucky, which is a shame.
Nah.
I know when I went there as well, I was like, do you have it? People didn't even understand what I was saying. It's like, I'm not that Scottish, but I guess the answer is no. But they do have your fancy whiskies there, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like the one that's quite popular,
Glens.
Glenfiddich, yeah.
Right.
You-
Glenfiddich.
Glenfiddich, not Glens. Not Bell's, sorry. Glen,
Oh,
Glens is the
no,
vodka.
so
No, not Bell's.
So when I was finishing, I was just about to go to high school. So when you have this, because the school system here and back home is different. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. But basically, that time when you either go to college or still go to high school to then go to uni, that's kind of when you might finish school. So you have your
Right.
graduation then, and then if you choose, you can have 3 more years in high school. Or if not, you just go and either look for a profession or study for some kind of profession, go to an apprenticeship program, for example. But yeah,
Okay.
that one, I still remember getting so drunk on whiskey.
Wow.
But what we were drinking was a Scottish leader.
Scottish leader.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not familiar.
I've not familiar with
It's
that either.
absolutely honking. Like, it's so bad. I don't.
Is it even? Maybe we don't get it here from
Maybe
they're
not,
like
maybe
we won't
not.
give that away to people.
Well, see, Bells. It's probably that, only
Yeah.
like 10 times worse. But it was cheap.
That's bad.
It was
yeah.
it was high in alcohol, so kids who don't have a lot of money are like, yeah, let's buy that.
Yeah, the kind of stuff you'd like buy a big bottle of and take it down the park as a 18-year-old.
But I just feel like I was meant to be in Scotland, you know. All these things in my life, you know, kind of connected to Scotland, the alcohol.
Yes.
No,
Yeah,
but-
well, you're very welcome in Scotland. I think everyone that's met you you've been a delight for them to meet. So, but it's funny. Speaking of, it's funny because you obviously you came to Scotland. How many years ago now?
almost 9 years ago.
9 years ago. So how do you find it then? What made you come over to Scotland in the first place?
Well, that's a bit of a.
You don't have to get into it if you don't
I know.
want to.
No, it's fine. I was dating someone, and a lot of things were happening back home. I mean, the company that I was working for at the time, so I had to stop studying because I was studying for in the Maritime Academy to become a navigation officer.
Okay.
I was trying to.
Somewhat relevant to kayaking.
But it was more like my dad used to be a navigation officer, so I was trying to follow his footsteps
Yeah.
and to make daddy proud. But I had to stop and go work. And at the time, the company I was working for, it was close to bankrupt, and people already, like, we weren't paid on time. A lot of things going on. And I was seeing someone from Scotland, and I thought, well, you know, the talks were about, well, someone has to move somewhere because we can't continue having this long distance relationship.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, it looks like I'm in a better position to, you know, leave everything and move over here. Moved here, and in about a month's time, I was like, why the fuck did I come here? Because that never worked out. Found out a lot of dodgy things. But nonetheless, it was already a month in Scotland. And again, people here are so friendly, so nice. I was feeling like a part of the community already. And at the time, I already managed to find a job in Glasgow, although I was staying in Troon.
So that's where you moved to originally, was Troon?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
That's a really interesting place to move to.
Yeah, it's quite random.
It's a lot of people wouldn't think that you would come from another country to go to Troon. Yeah.
But that's obviously where your partner was staying at the time.
Yeah, due to his job, they were stationed there. So I was like, well, to me, it was like Glasgow, Troon, Edinburgh. Like I actually like. I honestly thought that Glasgow was the capital of Scotland, and then I
Well, it basically is.
but then I heard it.
It's the cultural capital, as you would
It's
say.
the cultural capital.
But other than like Glasgow and Edinburgh, I really didn't know anything else. So I was like, oh, whatever. Troon, I just didn't care, really. And I tried to find a job there, but little did I know there's like 2 bars, 1 hotel, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's a small place, Troon.
Yeah.
And plus, whenever I tried to come up and say, hi, there's my CV, I'd like to find a job here, I couldn't understand what people were telling me in response. I was like, I knew English when I came here. What happened? It's
You were,
obviously
you were maybe getting offered loads of amazing contracts, and you were just like not knowing what they were talking about.
no. I think the moment they realized that they say something and I can't even respond to it, I was like, no, like, how
Think
are you
you'd
gonna
be a
serve
great familiar,
customers
yeah.
or whatever? But then
Yeah,
as the time
yeah.
went on, I started getting used to the Scottish accent, and then, but eventually I found a job in Glasgow, and
The
at the
best
time,
Scottish accent.
well, yeah, yeah, is that the right answer? um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I found a job, and at the time I was like, okay, well, he's a douchebag. We're not gonna be together, but I might as well give it a try since I'm here, since I have a place to stay, and I found a job. And 9 years down the line, I'm still here, and calling Scotland my second home now.
Well, you know a lot about cities now because when I was in Estonia for that European Cup, we were in Vinny, and you described it as the Dundee of Estonia. So you've learned about other
Take that how
places.
you will, everyone.
Yeah, I mean it could be a compliment.
Well, you
If-
said it was an insult to Dundee,
Yeah, well, so Christopher said it was
so
a,
apologies.
No,
an
no.
insult to Dundee. It was that bad of a place.
I mean, it wasn't. It was maybe
I
because
think
it was
you were
minus
right.
17 degrees and icy everywhere, and it was just like the
You
first
said there wasn't
impression.
much like to do. There wasn't many attractions or food places.
Well, we weren't there for a holiday, to be fair, so
Yeah,
we
we were
weren't
there for
looking.
business.
It was like a nice wee quiet village. The place, like was still nice. There was scenery and things.
We say it wasn't Tallinn.
It wasn't Tallinn.
Nothing's like Tallinn. Tallinn.
Tallinn's very unique. To be fair, you'll know more about it than I will.
Well, it's one of the UNESCO heritage sites, and I think it was one of the first sort of cities. Well, I might be talking absolute rubbish, but it was quite of an achievement for our wee city to be added to the UNESCO list, and also the government was asked to stop building anything new within the old town to preserve its like medieval style. And I absolutely love Tallinn. It's so beautiful, and you guys know it's just there's so many things to do there, and it's quite unique.
That is very unique, yeah.
Very
It's so unique because we were there in Finland on holiday. We went to Estonia over the ferry a couple hours. We thought it would be just something to do, a wee day trip. Obviously, knowing you as well, I was like, oh, Margarita will give me loads of tips, and she did. You gave me some of the best tips, actually. The Three Dragons was
welcome.
amazing.
Right?
It was so
Oh.
funny.
If you're ever in Tallinn, you need to go to the Free Dragons thing. We actually went again when we were in Vinny because we came on the way home. We went back to Tallinn, and I took the guys to the Free Dragons because it was the best thing we did there practically.
I swear to God, every time I go there, I was like, Mom, we're going to Three Dragons. Like, it's such a and see in wintertime, sometimes you would see people queuing all across the
Wow. Just to get in.
yeah, no,
Wow.
the queue is massive. And then the people who work there, they speak so many languages, and they'll have a banter with everyone.
Oh,
and
yeah. The most banter that I've ever had.
and it's
Um,
like it's not like a restaurant, right? It's just like a wee pub.
It's like a cafe pub, yeah. Like you get a bit of food, and the food's really nice, but it's not like
the food is delicious.
you're not like eating like meals there. Though.
Yeah, like pastries, ribs, like
Soup,
a sausage, stew. Yeah,
Old school stuff you get like in a wee crockery set, like just small things.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I always tell everyone, no matter what your plans are in Tallinn, go there. You will not regret it.
Well, we went actually for, as recommended, we went there for breakfast. It was like maybe 11 or 12 probably.
I think it was earlier than that.
Maybe 10, 11. But we got off the ferry, went straight there. That was the first meal we had. And we were there with our friend Callum. His first meal of the day was like a pint of cider that he was basically forced to have because he asked for water and they said, no, you can only have beer. And then he was like, well, can I at least have cider? After a bit of arguing, and they were like, oh, cider, that's fine. I was going to say, like, gave him. It was obviously a banter, I'm sure. If obviously he really didn't want it, they would have been fine. But and then he also said, you want a shot? And just like handed us shots. The strongest shot I've ever had. I don't know what it was. They didn't tell us what it was. They just said, do you want a shot? And we were like, okay.
Oh, it was.
So this was like breakfast, and we were having shots, the strongest we've ever had, ciders, beers.
Even after we were like, "What is that?" and they were like, "It's just a shot." And I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
they didn't actually tell us what it was. Like,
And well, like you were saying, like he said, "Oh,
Sounds
do
like
you-"
moonshine or something.
It was,
it was something
but
crazy.
he said, "Oh, do you at least have cider?" Like it was after a good like
Yeah,
2 minutes
a lot of back and
him being
forth.
like, "I really don't want it," because he was really hungover as well.
Yeah,
And she was like, "You're getting it." And then we went again. Well, I went again, obviously with the guy for sumo.
yeah.
And this time, one of the guys with us was an English guy. He said, "Oh, can I have some orange juice?" And I was like, "Here we go, here we go." And then the woman just went, "Oh, of course, yeah," and just gave him it. And I was like, "Why did Callum get bullied last time when this guy was just like, oh,
they seen us and we were like, oh, these guys they're here to have some fun." But when they seen Kieran come over, they were like, "Oh no, he's English. He's not gonna."
I mean,
Kidding.
I was surprised because whenever I go there, let's say I'll go with my mom, she'll have like a apple juice or something like that, and I'll be like, "Oh, can I have a pint of beer?"
Mm-hmm.
But my mom would never get bullied for this, so I don't. I think it might have been just banter because
maybe they just pick their targets. Yeah, they might just pick their
I mean,
targets
Callum
wisely.
looks like a Viking himself.
looks like a
and he's
drinker,
what the
yeah.
hell? Juice, water? Like,
Yeah,
no.
they must be like, "Wait, I'm not having this." Like, it was funny, is it? And I think it was like because he kept just saying yeah to everything, and then it was like, well, if he's having it, I'm having it, and if both of them are having it, then I'm gonna have to have it as well, kind of thing. So it was really fun. But I was gonna say, Tallinn is somewhere that I really want to go back to.
Yeah.
You were lucky enough to kind of
You
have a
and me
wee
both.
visit there. But like, yeah, like we were there for Finland, which was an amazing place, brilliant holiday. But obviously Estonia was a extra at the point, and then we found ourselves wanting to go back, and we were like, "Ah, kind of wish we had another day here," kind of thing. Like, so
Yeah.
it's really, I would really recommend visiting Tendi.
Do you hear that again?
I don't know.
Another pizza?
Hold on.
Do you
Do
hear
you
it?
hear that noise?
I think it's there again. Can you hear it?
What is that?
I need to go check again.
What's up?
I'm deaf, so on a good day I don't hear anything.
Honestly, man, I'm getting deaf as well in my old age, man.
Oh, no.
I know it's been 25, like everything's just going downhill with my health. Hangovers are getting worse, like.
Oh, hangovers. Yeah, that's why I just don't like to drink nowadays.
Yeah, yeah.
Although
Well,
I did
BT was mental though. Like when we worked there, some of the nights out were absolutely ridiculous. They made me an alcoholic.
I mean, that place itself will make anyone an alcoholic.
Yeah, yeah. That's the point.
Does Chris know that we still have pizza? Because I swear to God, if he brings on a pizza, I'm taking it home.
You're welcome to take that one home. Like absolutely.
Oh,
It's Margarita.
Thanks.
nice. Thank you.
So we have a lime here on top. Very professional.
Well, you get limes with Margarita, so you know.
You do.
You get salt as well, which I don't like that much. But
Yeah, I knew you weren't going to like that, like
Well, it's
because
tequila, isn't it? So.
yeah, because they line the glass, don't they, with the salt. I think you put the lime around the glass, then you kind of put the salt through it. Do you shake it? No.
uh-huh.
No. I would have gotten in big trouble, by the way. You know how gullible I am.
Equipment, no.
You know how gullible I am.
What do I do with the lime though? Do I still
fudge.
eat it?
I think I might shake it a little bit.
Joe's doing a bit of ASMR with a can opening there. The mic right next to the can.
that, viewers.
Oh yeah, I don't know what you do with lime. I just know you have limes with Margarita because it's tequila. So
That's delicious.
does Margarita like margaritas?
I like strawberry margaritas.
So no.
You're more of a strawberry daiquiri woman.
More of a Tennant's or a Bucky.
Whiskey.
No, Tennant's too gassy.
Fair enough.
Yeah, to be fair, a lot of beers can be like that in particular.
I'm
Some
trying-
are kind of flat, but
I'm trying to think if there's a Scottish beer that I like, but everything I'm about to say that's not Scottish. So
There's not a lot of Scottish beers.
there's not too many.
Well, there is, but there's not a lot of famous ones. 'Cause we're
well,
obviously not more of a whiskey or whatever place.
other than Tennant's, what do you got?
We have Drygate Brewery stuff. I think they've got
I don't think I've
Innocent
ever
Gun.
tried it.
Innocent Gun's
Yeah.
actually alright.
Innocent Gun's quite good if you've not tried that.
I think I tried it, but I always go for
Brewdog as well. That's a big one.
Brewdog's Scottish, yeah.
That is okay.
Although, again, for me, not a great example of
They're
beers.
famous though. They're quite famous, but yeah, some of them aren't the best. What is this like a challenge?
It's like a lime challenge all of a sudden, yeah.
I don't know. I just realized that I'm eating with core as well. So
with
With a core.
You just shove
Sorry,
the whole
not-
thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
at least I'm not squeezing it in my eyeball. Like,
No,
Why,
that,
why would you do that?
That's a
Full-
true Russian way to drink.
Oh, is that what you do?
Mental people do it.
Fair enough.
To be fair, the core is good for you. It's got lots of
Well, limes in
different
general,
vitamins
yeah.
and- So,
Yeah. Offsetting the bad stuff of the alcohol.
so you actually came to the strongman competition that we did, Tubby Fit Classic.
So
That was
I
the
did.
first sort of experience of Strongwoman that you've done. You said you did some
Strongwoman.
weights, obviously. Strongwoman. So you kind of
Yeah.
sort of fit into it quite well, and you actually did better than you were thinking you were going to do, and you
I
ended up doing
was-
really well at the competition. So
I was very surprised when I realized that I got second place.
first ever strongman experience, like first ever strongwoman competition. So it's good going. I know it was a smaller one, but it was still, you did really, really well. Way better than you
Did you not
expected.
get second?
Yeah, second.
Second?
Which still, like, I felt like
Yes,
such a like I had such a big imposter syndrome throughout the whole time. What I'll say though is I felt kind of the similar vibes in the strongman club as I did when I was in my kayaking club. Everyone's so supportive. Everyone's like screaming for each other. Like,
Yeah,
it was such a good vibe. Even people who just came as spectators, they had a good time too. And obviously it was my first time. I don't think I was doing strong woman stuff for that long, but I thought, you know
yeah.
what? Because you're the one who said, "Oh, you should
it
register for
out.
that."
Yeah.
So you keep coming. I was like, "Okay, fair enough," and that worked.
It did work, yeah. I did tell you.
Um,
And you enjoyed it, and you had a lot of fun, and also it meant that we could spend a bit more time with each other as well, and blossom the friendships.
I know.
Yeah, well, that
Beautiful.
you need to get a room if you want to talk about that kind of thing. This is a bit. We
Oh,
get to spend
come
more
on,
time
don't
with
be a
each
hater.
other.
Don't be a hater.
I mean, no, I was good. I didn't really know you until that either. So
Yeah,
you know,
obviously you met Chris, you met Callum, and you met everyone at Strongman Club, Karen, and things, and it was just something because you were saying you were wanting to kind of get in shape and kind of get fit and more into sports again, just get yourself to the gym more. So that was an encouragement for that as well. So
Yeah, I think for a long time I just stopped doing anything, and gym is good. I mean, I'm going to the gym now regularly, but it's not the same when you have like a group of people, like-minded folk that there's no bad blood. Everyone's so supportive, so nice. Really enjoyed it, and to get to the second place as well. Like,
yeah,
I still felt like an imposter. Like, how am I getting this? But then, obviously, I think it's the last sandbag over the shoulder.
you were the sandbag queen. Like for some reason, you're just like I think you actually did an extra lap at the sandbag carry because no one told you you were
Oh my
done.
god, that was so
like,
embarrassing.
You did like another 10 meters or something,
That
like
was-
20 meters.
that
Like,
was
you were
embarrassing.
supposed to finish when you got to me, and then you just turned around and ran back again, which meant that you actually would have lost that event when you actually probably would have won it at first because you took longer to go back with the sandbag.
Because I was thinking in my head, like, oh, I need to preserve some strength to do the last lap. And then everyone was like laughing, like, what's happening? Oh, that was embarrassing.
That was one sandbag event. The sandbag over shoulder head to head was really good for you,
yes, and the sandbag toss.
and the
So it's
sandbag
quite a
toss.
Sandbag heavy competition.
Well, I mean, I was proud that I even got one over the bar because when I was training, I was just like, there's no way I'm going to get even one over that
Yeah.
bar. And then all of a sudden, my first one goes over. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I have it in
I
me.
kept saying that is the thing though. Like in competition, you always do better than you think you're going to do, or at least sometimes you do.
I think
Especially
it's
for
the
my
adrenaline.
yeah, and you have to just believe in yourself as well a little bit as well, because obviously it's all these extremely heavy weights, and you think no way I'd ever be able to throw that weight or carry that weight, but then you just go and do it. And I think even with the farmers walk, you couldn't even lift them up, and then on the competition you actually budged them a bit, which was way more than you were expecting to do. So.
And it gets you on the board. If you get up and move it at all, that gets you points. So
But yeah, I mean, I knew for a fact that there's no way. How much was it? Like 150?
I have no idea. It was about 140, 50 for the women.
140 or 150, yeah. One probably 150 maybe.
Yeah, I
Something
was
like
like thinking about the weights I use for deadlift. I was like, there's no way I'm even moving that the slightest. And then yeah, I managed to just lift it up. It's like, okay, that's impressive. But And I think it's just everyone were so like, come on, you can do it, you can do it. I was like, oh my god,
It's the
if they're
shouting.
saying I can do it, then I can't let them down, can I?
It is the support as well. You're so right. It's like everyone shouting and cheering you on. It does give you a bit of a buzz and encourages you.
Well, the next Tubby Fit Classic is going to be this year in about July odds. So are you going to do it again?
I mean, I've
4 or 5 months of training.
I mean that's enough time to get in shape for that as well. Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying it now on the podcast.
Yeah, you're not
I'm
signing a
gonna-
contract. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, don't worry.
Well,
like-
I technically am. If I'm saying it on the podcast, I'm like, I have to stick with it. So yeah, there you go.
Good, okay, that's
Sold
good.
my soul to the devil again.
I'll try my best to do it as well, even though I've not been training at all recently. I've been doing a little bit, but yeah, it's gonna be something to look forward to anyway.
And if you want to do it, then you should follow Tubby Fit on Instagram and Achieve Strength, and you'll find the details for it soon.
Exactly.
Yes.
And
also,
you should also buy the merch that we're
Yes.
wearing today as well.
amazing merchandise that we sell here at Tubby Fit, which is our main page. Obviously, Tubby Talks is the podcast, but everything's for sale that you see us wearing. So
I mean, I finally got my hoodie back, which
yes, I
is
know.
an
Margarita found
achievement
her
of
lost hoodie that
itself.
was in the gym for a while, and she's finally been reunited with it. So
It was like the wee mascot while I was away. Like
Yeah.
a part of me was still there.
yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing.
Now it's my
Yeah.
turn to come back.
Yeah, that was honestly really cool. At least you've had a taste of strongman, and I think getting a podium place, second place in your first ever competition, hopefully that's a good encouragement as well. So
Definitely.
you did really well.
I mean, I was happy just to even participate in it because just the vibes, the way people made me feel. I just love being a part of something
Yeah,
and like, cheering up for other people as well. Although there's an element of competition, you didn't feel like you're competing against someone. You're just doing your best, and you know if
you're all kind of one big team, aren't you? In
Yeah.
a way, it's like everyone's doing the best they can, and that makes you do the best you can.
So no, definitely something to do again for sure.
Hell yeah.
Everyone sign up for Tubby Fit Classics. Link in the bio.
will be.
Hopefully.
So yeah, I mean we can wrap it up if you want. The one thing I want to do is give Arthur the dog a wee shout out. The wee three-legged mini dash hund is that what you would say?
A little shit is
Miniature-
how I would call him, but yeah.
A sausage dog.
Yeah, a wee sausage dog, wee sausage. He's just the most mental little dog I've met.
I was thinking of taking him with me, but then I was like, he's probably gonna try to shag your arm or your leg or chew on something, and it's just be a
well,
menace.
it would have been cool. I mean, anyone who meets him, like, it's a privilege to meet him. He is a bit hyper, but he's the most cool little wee thing I've
Oh
met.
my god! Every time I go with him on the train, it's like at this point I know that wherever I go with him, I need to add at least 5 to 10 minutes to my journey because people would stop and he's like, "Oh, he's so cute. Oh, what happened with his paw?" I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
well, let me tell you, he was born like that."
And you saved him as well, didn't you? Because the vets were saying he might not make it. You might have to put him down or something
Well,
like that.
when we've adopted him from Danielle,
Daniel,
you know,
shout.
there was a moment where he broke his special paw.
Oh wow. Okay.
I think it was just too hyper running around, and he caught it on a blanket, yanked it, and eventually, what we found out through the X-ray that he had a broken bone in there. I mean, it's already looked like it's broken, but it was even more so broken, which was the hardest thing to deal with. And then the vet was suggesting, you know, giving us options. Said, "Oh, so we can amputate the paw, but because he uses as a stump, you know, oh well, then he'll have more pressure on the other good paw." And I was like, "Well, what's the other option?" "Oh well, you should consider putting him down." And I'm just like, I'm gonna just pretend I didn't hear it. And then in I think 4 or 6 weeks, we went for a checkup again. And they're like, "Oh well, it's definitely better." So they done another X-ray, and they said it's definitely better, but it can happen again. So I'll maybe consider putting him down. And at that point, I was because the first time I was with the vets, I was crying on. So I actually had like a breakdown. I was so upset. I came home crying. I was in the taxi crying. I was just heartbroken for the wee man. But then the second time when they said, "Oh, you should put him down," I was like, "Oh, wait, hold on a second. Why are you telling me to kill my dog?" But
Yeah, that's a really tough thing to say.
but they were just saying, "Oh, because if something goes wrong, it might be too expensive." I mean, even at that point, the bill was like 1.5 grand, and he was in the vets for 2 nights. Got some. I mean, to be fair, I think they were just ripped us. Like
Vet bills are
they didn't
ridiculous
need
as
to
well.
hold him there for 2 nights. I don't think, because every other night he was at home and still with the same broken paw. But nonetheless, a lesson learned. But they were just suggesting that if, like, let's say we can't afford the vet bill, we should put it down. I was like, no chance. Like, look at it. And now 3 years later, he's running around.
He's thriving.
Yeah.
He's the best little boy ever.
So there's a good ending for people that were getting the tissues out for crying.
It was a happy ending, yeah.
Oh
He's
no,
still with us
he's
very
the
much,
best. Like, honestly, he makes my heart sing. He's
Yeah.
the cutest.
I think anyone who sees him would probably think the same thing at first as well.
We'll maybe add a picture for visuals
Yeah, we'll
if
try,
we
we'll
can.
try and add a picture on the YouTube.
I'll
Um,
take him to the Tubby Fit Classic next time
Yeah,
in
if
July.
there's
You'll be a mascot.
Hector was there last time and he was
He was, yeah.
so
Hector, the old boy now.
the Westie.
Yeah,
The whole
that's
man.
our dog. FYI, guys.
Oh, they can
First-
be both of our mascots.
Yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah.
Get a
That'll
wee
be
Tubby
badass.
Fit shirt for both of them as well.
Yeah,
a
we're gonna
bandana.
be Arthur and Hector themed tops. It's funny as anything.
Well, yeah, then I think that was good. Thanks for coming on, obviously, and talking about everything. And
Yeah, I
shout,
think it's been quite the journey. Quite the journey of a podcast today. So
You can
lot
say that.
a lot of fun had.
But no, it was a pleasure. Love chatting with you.
Yeah.
No, others will see all the. I don't want to say bad words, but everything I had to say.
yeah.
Yes.
You know.
Well, it was good, and you can comment and tell us
Yes. Please comment,
what
like,
you thought.
and subscribe and rate all of those things. Spotify and YouTube. It helps us out. Obviously, we can get even greater guests like Margarita. We can get maybe a pepperoni next time.
You've already said it.
The same joke to start and end the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we're trying to encourage people to do it, not leave.
like, comment, share. You never know. I might come back again.
Who knows?
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for watching and listening, and obviously for coming on.
Thanks
And
very much.
we'll see you later.